pod bay doors, please, Hal.
Double, toil and trouble, fire burn, and cauldron bubble. Double, toil and trouble. Double, toil and trouble, fire burn, bubble. Finger of birth-strangled babe, ditch delivered by a drab. Liver of blaspheming Jew, gall of goat and slips of yew, silvered in the moon's eclipse, nose of Turk and Tartar slips. Here's the blood of a bat. Put in that. Round about the cauldron go, in the poisoned entrails throw, for a charm of powerful trouble. Like a hell broth, boil and bubble.
The pod bay doors are open. Welcome once again. I'm your host, Jerry Dean Roberts of ArmchairCinema.com and also ArmchairOscars.com. Seated here with my non-alcoholic co-host, the critic, dare I say legend, of TalkMovieMe.com, Mr. Doug Heller. How the heck are you today, sir?
To us, it was a way of controlling our environment. It's not so different now. It's time again. In the end, we don't decide these things, you know. The planets do. They're in alignment, and it's time again. The world's going to change tonight, Doctor, and I'm glad you'll be able to watch it. And happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
The third channel! It's still on! Please take off the third channel! The third channel! It's still running! Stop it, please! For God's sake, stop it! There's no more time! Please stop it! Stop it now! Turn it off! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it!
Which is what Doug was saying.
That was not only the last line in the movie, it was also what was screaming in my head. I never agreed with the movie until that moment.
Okay, so I gotta ask you this. Okay, now the evil toy maker is going to broadcast a signal that will melt the brains of anybody who's wearing his masks on Halloween night.
Right, naturally turn their brains and basically
into bugs and snakes.
Yeah, into poisonous critters.
So all of the good, sweet Christian children who are not allowed to celebrate Halloween, they survive. They make it, I guess. So do the Amish kids.
Oh man, that's actually more of a commentary that they're right. Boy, is that not something that you want to peddle.
That is just what I was about to say. And also, you know, the poorer population that can't afford silver shamrock masks. You know, the kids, you know, yeah. I mean, what is the commentary there?
Right? Connell Cochran, like, and you know, the primary audience for this are suburban white children.
Yes.
So this isn't even like white supremacy or anything like this. This is actually targeting primarily white children.
Upper class and middle class
white children largely.
Right.
I mean, obviously there would be other in there, but it's just I find that kind of hilarious. Like, what is your end game here? And the way
I thought it was like Thanos. I thought it was like Thanos. He was like gonna repopulate. It's like he's gonna.
I think it was more. It was like a sacrifice to the gods. It was like a means of mass sacrifice to continue to have their control over things or whatever they believed.
Well, the origins of Halloween,
Right.
which we'll get to.
But I love that they stole a piece
A
of
chunk of
Stonehenge,
Stonehenge.
and were chipping off of it and putting it into the metal receivers in the back of the.
They took an entire stone from Stonehenge, and he says, all we need is a tiny particle. All they need is sand from the Stonehenge rock, but they stole an entire Stonehenge rock for this.
Not like it was like the top and the two sides, wasn't it?
Yeah. No, it was just
one of the top.
The pillar.
Yeah. So
so he stole that, and
talk about. I mean, if you have the capacity to steal a Stonehenge stone,
well, and bear this in mind also.
Why do you need any of this other stuff?
And what pissed me off is the fact that his explanation of how he got the Stonehenge rock is just waved away. He just says, "We had quite a time getting it here." It's like, no.
I know.
This thing weighs several tons.
Like
okay.
They buried the lead and then poured concrete over it. It was like, what? That's the story.
The story is God how knows you got this.
Because the story, whatever they're setting up doesn't start until about, I don't know, 2/3 of the way through the movie. Mm-hmm. Like the last third of the movie is the actual storyline, and everything up to that is barely information leading you to that.
You're following a drunk shit-heel doctor who wants to get laid.
Right, and a young girl who doesn't know the difference between, toxic and just person.
Yeah.
She.
If you haven't guessed, by the way, welcome to third week of Shocktober month. We're talking this week about Halloween 3. I got stuck with this one because
Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, actually Season of the Witch was the original title for Mean Streets.
Was it? I didn't know that.
Yes.
I did not know that.
Yes. The
title came from the Donovan song.
Or was it Taxi Driver? No. It was Mean Streets. Yeah. And the Donovan song is awesome.
Yeah.
But you haven't heard it until you've heard Dr. John sing it.
Yeah.
Because
I can imagine.
You got that New Orleans and that heavy, that harsh voice.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's awesome. Oh, it's so good.
Well, I got stuck in this one because, like I said last week, I couldn't put it in Turkey Month because Halloween would be over, and I can't put it in Shocktober because it's too good for Shocktober. So this is kind of a shock turkey.
It's not good enough for Shocktober.
Right. That's what I mean. It's a shock turkey. Consider this a shock turkey episode. Right.
And I was gonna shift some things around, and I may still this may end up at the end of the month after the Faces trilogy,
right?
Just so that this can straddle right there. I might even just post it on Halloween just to keep it as close to November as I can.
Well, honestly, this is just one of those films I'm fascinated by. It, and mostly it's because I spent most of September and part of October. We're recording this at the first week of October, and I decided to do a run through on the Halloween series because I wanted to do an article on it.
Better you than me.
Because honest to God, I sat there and watched these, and I had seen a couple of them here and there. I love the first one, and I had seen the first one, and I had seen some of them spotted, and I thought, okay, well maybe it's time to just sit down and because there's next week is quote unquote Halloween Ends, we'll see. Yeah, it's going to make about as much sense as Friday the 13th, the final chapter.
Yeah, which they then made what,
They
more after?
They then made like 6 more
yeah,
after
6
that.
more
Yeah.
after.
And a remake.
Yeah.
But yeah, if the final, anytime you slap final on anything or, ends on anything, no, it's not.
No.
It's not. As long as the money keeps pouring in, it's going to keep happening. But I just thought, I would sit down and try this, see what it's like. It was a struggle. There are 13 of these.
Yeah.
There are 13 of these. And let me tell you something. 12 of these involve Michael Myers running around with a butcher knife and murdering people. Just laying siege to Haddonfield and just murdering people one by one. 13 movies like that, or 12 movies like that.
And this one.
And then this one.
So,
because we come from different places now, because I've seen the other 12.
Right.
And then this.
The first one took a long time to grow on me.
Mm-hmm.
I very much appreciate it now. I don't know that I love it, but
it's kind of a happy accident. It's got a lot of mood, right, and a lot of tone, and a lot of that feeling of suburban Halloween.
When I first saw it, I was too young to appreciate how revolutionary it was.
When I first saw it, I was too young to be watching it.
Yeah, well, so I had to let the first one grow on me, and eventually I saw the second one.
Yeah,
and then I saw the first David Gordon Green one. That's it. And then you made me watch this one. And this
God.
This one stands out because it is so unique. And I admire what John Carpenter was trying to do and make this like an anthology series so that he would actually remain engaged with it, so that it wasn't just Michael Myers running around with a butcher knife killing people.
And you don't have 12 movies like that. Well, the idea would have worked because you have different stories, you can have different creative ideas, and if those are successful, they themselves can spin off into sequels and their own universe. So you can have this whole universe of other movies. But those first 2 movies had been so successful that people just absolutely just turned their nose up at this. And I do appreciate the fact that the third one is not another Michael Myers movie.
No, I appreciate that. I would appreciate the movie a lot more if 2/3 of it made sense with anything to do with... I mean, look, this... I admire this...
This series, let me tell you something. This series starts over and reboots and wraps around to that Halloween movie from 2018, totally disregards everything but the first one. And they keep doing it.
The first 2.
No, the first one. It disregards the second one completely.
I thought it kept the second one because it revealed her as the sister, and that's how they... No,
that's not a thing in this David Gordon Green. That's not a thing anymore. The this Halloween, it's a choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
Really, because it has so many different side roads and plot lines and separating things. It has the zombie duology.
I will say
and his hillbilly gore shit.
I will say this for the Halloween series.
Mm-hmm.
They never went to space. Jason went to space, and the Leprechaun went to space. But Michael Myers never went to space, and I admire that about them.
You know what? I quote Joe Bob Briggs. He said, "You know what? Those people who made the Friday the 13th movies, they should be proud of themselves. They were very consistent. They made the same movie 14 times."
That is true. That is true.
But honestly, having been through all of this, having been through the other 12 and the other, 11, because the other one hasn't come out yet, and then I come back to this and I'm thinking, okay, what's more original? The guy who kills children with Halloween masks or a guy who runs around with a butcher knife, and it depresses me that these are the choices I'm given. But
Yeah.
um,
Child murder or teen murder. Let's
this is
see.
this is a it's a good bad movie for me. Because John Carpenter makes cheeseburgers. Okay.
Okay.
His movies are a trip to McDonald's. Okay.
I wanna say this. I admire John Carpenter like no one else.
Hmm.
Because he projects no illusions.
Right.
In an interview once, he said, "You know what I do every time a new Halloween movie comes out? I hold out my hand and magically a really big check shows up."
Money just rains from the sky.
And I'm like, you know what? Okay, all right. You know,
Money just rains from the sky.
he's not a sellout. He's successful.
His name is on every single one of them. He
And
gave up the Halloween series after this one,
mm-hmm,
but still, because it's his idea and his characters, he still gets paid for it.
mm-hmm, yep,
I think he even got paid for the zombies
mm-hmm,
because the characters were still his, and he didn't have to do anything
nope,
except put his name on the front of it.
yep.
Created by.
And
It's George
when-
Lucas. It's the same with George
exactly. George Lucas, Wes Craven.
Lucas. Hmm.
I mean, I love John Carpenter more than Wes Craven, though. John Carpenter at least goes for at least some kind of historical reference in his films. Wes Craven, I think, just counts as money.
Yeah.
I kind of think that Wes Craven directs like Gus Van Sant in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Counting the money. Gus, is that a cut? I'm busy, Ben. Counting his money.
Counting his money.
And then he's like, so should we go again? Jesus, Ben, I said I'm busy. Count his money from Goodwill Hunting. That's how I imagine Wes Craven was on set.
Yeah.
Because by the time he was making like Scream and stuff, like I have no doubt that he was just completely disengaged by Scream 2. Like
Here's the funny thing. Go and look at his filmography. It's fascinating because he comes up with all these different horror films and all of these different horror anthologies, and then all of a sudden, Music of the Heart hits you in the face.
I know, right? It's like
It's a sweet drama about a music teacher in an elementary school, and it's like with Meryl Streep.
Yeah. It's like watching The Straight Story and having directed by David Lynch pop up.
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell?
He made a real movie.
I followed every minute of this. This couldn't have been that David Lynch.
That's exactly what I thought. When I saw David Lynch's name, I was like, okay, this must be Dave Lynch.
Yeah.
You know, this must be... Yeah, this must be Dave Lynch.
This has to be somebody else.
Somebody else, you know. But Halloween 3...
okay, so...
I'm going to say this. I kind of love this movie for just how janky and bad it is. It's basically... I love the fact that your protagonist is this complete alcoholic shitheel doctor.
He is one of
who
the
abandons
worst
his kids.
people. He
abandons
does.
his kids.
He does.
To go on the road with this woman to get laid.
Well,
That's
the first time he gets pulled away from them, he gets called to the hospital. I guess he was on call.
Right, because they say, because when he gets to the hospital, somebody says, well, Dr. So-and-so couldn't be reached. And I kept thinking, you know what that means? It means that Dr. Kavanaugh is out of town. Dr. Shapiro is at a family wedding. Dr. Jones has the flu. and there are like 6 or 7 different doctors that work at this hospital, and he's number 8 on the duty roster. He's the one they call in when they're all out.
No one else can come in.
Dr. Eccles is out on maternity leave,
And
you know,
and the worst, I mean, the way that they did, like, she goes looking for him at one point. She like goes to this bar. She's like, "Oh yeah, the hospital said you'd be here."
The hospital said you'd be here. That means the duty nurse knows that he's going to Charlie's bar.
Right.
To get a drink.
Or he goes, or he gave them that number for them to reach him at if they needed him. Because
There's a
this was
list
the
of
80s.
bars.
Yeah, or there's a list of bars contacts.
There's a list of bars, you know, next to the phone.
And did it strike you that
Probably.
his ex-wife was just as mad at him for being a bad father as she was of him being a doctor? Like,
Yes.
she was
Yeah.
pissed off that he was a doctor. Like, he gets
When-
called into the hospital. It's like, he's a doctor on call. You married a doctor.
And he said 2 men died tonight.
Right, and she's
still
bawling him
mad at it.
out.
Because several times, one of the funniest running gags in this whole movie is he calls her 3 or 4 times, and he's talking to her, and all you hear on the other end of the phone is, well, he's trying to explain himself.
It lets you know real early, the movie does, what it thinks of women.
Yeah, it does.
It does not really hold any illusions.
Oh, we'll get to that in a second.
That
We'll get to that in a second. Oh my god.
oh, this is
Because it starts kind of the opening scene of this movie is kind of intriguing because it opens with a guy running down a road, and he's got a Halloween mask in his hand, and he's running away from 2 guys in a car.
Right.
It's at night. There are 1,000 dark places he could hide in. So what does he do? He goes into a brightly lit junkyard.
and then he's confronted by the Men's Warehouse repo agents.
He's confronted
Which I have to give full credit to season 13 of Mystery Science Theater 3000 for that joke. But as soon as I saw them, I'm like, well, it's applicable here too.
I swear, it's like the Spandau Ballet flash mob. It's like they're all wearing the same suits. They're expressionless.
And how resilient are they really if a car going 2 miles an hour can crush and kill one of them?
Right. Well, but I'll give them this. I'll give them this much. They're a hell of a response team.
Well, they are. Well, which is kind of surprising considering that later you find out that they're basically filled with caramel.
Yeah, actually, it's frozen concentrated orange juice. I found that out.
That's even grosser.
That's even grosser because it's yellow. Especially when he pulls his hand out of it.
It just looks like caramel, like you found their gooey center. And
it's like there's a weird thing that happens at the beginning of this movie is, the guy has him down on the ground and is about to strangle him. He pulls a chain to pull the block out from under a tire, and the guy gets squashed between 2 cars. And he just sort of, his head goes back, and it's like a rag doll.
The worst that would have happened to him is maybe he would have broken his hip.
Right. What's his shoulder?
Well, yeah. I mean, the way that it did it, it shouldn't have killed him.
No.
Especially not at the speed that it was going.
Well, it was rolling.
Yeah, but it wasn't rolling very fast.
Right.
It was like 1.5 feet away from the guy.
Well, he gets up, and he runs away. He runs. It's funny because all of a sudden the movie just becomes the story of this gas station attendant.
Yeah.
Like for a few minutes, it becomes this gas station attendant
Who
story.
you get to see again, and I was so happy we got to see him
It comes
again at the
back.
end.
It ends where it begins because it ends in his gas station.
Yeah, I love that.
What I want to know is when he brought that guy to the hospital, he seemed awfully nervous.
Well, he didn't.
I was always taught when somebody was in trouble, you help them, unless there's going to be trouble. There's not going to be any trouble, is there? And then he turns around and he goes out, and he is like,
He's like, "Do I have to stay?" And they're like, "No, you can leave." He's like, "Okay,
he's like
I'm out."
booking it out of there.
Because he has no idea what's wrong with this guy, and he doesn't want to get blamed for if there was any kind of violence or anything that he was not witness to.
Yeah.
And not responsible for. He didn't want to get blamed for anything that they found on him. So he just
Well, I mean,
got the hell out of there.
The guy walked into his gas station and just passed out on the floor. That's all that happened.
Well, yeah.
Because he comes in and he says, he just came in out of the rain. I swear to God, that's all that happened.
Well, yeah. That's because he doesn't want them to think that he like hit him with a car or something, and he's bringing them in trying to tell this story. He's like, he's scared that they're not going to believe him and call the police and arrest him for.
And he books it out of there.
Yeah, he gets straight out of there, and I don't blame him because the guy with the mask has really just completely lost his marbles.
Yeah. For a good reason.
Oh yeah, for a very good reason. The Men's Warehouse repo agents are scary.
Well, the funny thing is, and I don't know how hospitals work, but this guy came in and I guess they diagnosed him with exhaustion because all Tom Atkins does is come in and admit him to bed. And I guess this is just something, no matter what, I guess this is something that the doctor on duty has to do. That there's no attending nurse that can do this.
Nurses don't admit. Doctors have to admit.
Okay. So I mean, he comes in, he gives him a bed, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
He when he comes in, and he goes.
Here comes the repo agents.
He says, I'm gonna go sleep it off. He sexually harasses the nurse, and he says, I'm gonna go sleep it off. He goes into the lounge, the lounge, and gets on that kind of couch where people give you the doctor gives you bad news.
Yeah.
Well, this is as good as sleeping under a car.
It's one of those break room couches that's probably more ringworm than couch.
Yeah.
Like, it has never been cleaned, and it's sat there for 16 years, and it's got
crumbs and dried up
cigarette
pieces of
burns
lettuce
in it, and
cigarette burns and candy wrappers and all. And but I mean, I guess to his lifestyle, I mean, this is as good as sleeping under a car.
Hey, it's not like hospitals that have a lot of on-call doctors don't have, like entire areas dedicated to sleeping quarters for them.
Well, usually a doctor, because this is an empty hospital.
Yeah.
And usually, he would go in and he would just kind of get some sleep, and he's the one attending, and he's got to make sure this guy is okay. And but yeah, he's not really attentive because then then one of the Spandau Ballet flash mob comes in and not only murders this guy.
I have to say, in the 80s,
oh my God,
man, skulls were very fragile. People could be decapitated very easily.
He puts his hand over his mouth and he puts his fist in the air like he's going to punch him. And then he sort of lobster claws.
He has a pincer grip into his eyes.
Oh, God.
And then he starts rooting around. And then he just kind of starts crushing
just pulls it apart.
Yeah. Just
Oh. God. Oh.
the
There's some
sounds.
murders. Let me tell you.
The
There's some murders
sounds
in
that
this
they
movie.
choose.
There's some murders in this movie that are really
There's some gruesome stuff, and then there's the ones where the flash mob Men's Warehouse repo agents just pull the guy's head off.
Yeah. Oh, the wino.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just pop. Like,
That is the easiest That is the smoothest decapitation I've ever seen in my life. It just comes off.
Yeah. It's like he was a Lego guy.
Yeah, he just pulls it off.
Yeah.
And there's like this geyser.
Yeah.
It's
like already he cut his head off, you know.
Oh my God. And then all of a sudden the next day the guy's daughter comes in. Ellie comes in and she identifies her father. And there's this whole air of, wait, okay, explain to me exactly how my father is checked into a hospital and the next thing you know, they rip his skull apart? How does this happen in a hospital?
And he's like, yeah, I don't know. You're cute. And
he's looking at her. There's not a moment when Tom Atkins is not.
She is quite cute.
She's beautiful. She is quite beautiful.
But
and she was. This actress is Stacey Nelkin, who dated Woody Allen at 17, but then again, who didn't?
Yeah.
And she is quite beautiful. I will say that. But Tom Atkins. There's never a moment when he isn't looking at her, and we know exactly what's on his mind.
Yeah, and the worst. I mean, you talk about like mismatched ages. She was like,
this is May, December.
She was like, this is like May, January. This is he was.
He's in his early 50s at least.
Yeah, he was born in 1935. He was a hometown to me guy. He was a Pittsburgh native.
He's in his 40s.
Yeah.
This was 82.
And she was 22. And
all of 20. Put a thumbtack in her age, but you know.
So yeah, he was in his late 40s, and he looked every bit of it.
He's a hound. Oh my God! Through this whole movie, the first thing he does, I mean, he's walking the nurse down the hallway and grabs her ass, and then he's hitting on the coroner's assistant, and then this, and I mean,
it's. I have never seen a more unpleasant character that we are asked to
sympathize with.
Follow and sympathize with.
The only thing that I sympathized with him about is that his children are wearing those masks. That's the only thing I sympathize with him about.
Because otherwise, I mean, he's just a dickhead. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's just an ass.
And you know he's hanging on to that doctor's license. I mean, he is hanging on to that.
Where are
license.
they? Somewhere in like upstate New York or
Northern
something? Northern California. So chances are pretty good that this isn't the first hospital he's been to, and this might be the last hospital he's in. So he's doing what he can.
He's been Me Too'd around.
Yeah, I'm sure he has.
And now it took a lot to get Me Too'd around in '82. Let me tell you this.
If not Me Too'd around, definitely alcoholism around.
Right. Because I mean, he's drinking through this whole movie.
He's malpracticed around. I love. There's one part where he's like, "Oh, it's getting late, and I could use a drink." It's like
I could use a drink. He is lying to his wife on the phone.
You could have said that at any given point in the movie, sir.
When he heads out with this woman to go to solve her father's murder, he is lying to his wife on the phone about not being ex-wife on the phone about not being able to go take the kids trick-or-treating. Meanwhile, there is a 6-pack of Miller High Life cans on top of the payphone behind him.
Champagne and beers.
And when he hangs up the phone, he does this sweet little turn and grabs it and and runs off to the car.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
Nothing says romance like the absolute cheapest can of beer you can buy.
and he's not sharing them.
Well,
I don't think he's sharing them.
He's got to do something to maintain ground zero. I mean, he's got to keep
This
his
is a
blood
girl.
alcohol level up at a certain level. Otherwise, the collective hangover would probably kill him.
Yeah, it's probably not a good idea to pursue a girl who calls her father Papa.
Yeah, serious Yentl vibes there.
Yes. Something's Meshuggah about this.
That's
There's something going on.
a grown woman that calls her father Papa.
Papa.
Yes.
He follows her. They decide to go on the road to find this silver shamrock because that's what he was muttering about when he came in the hospital. The father came in the hospital and said, "They're going to kill us all. They're going to kill us all." And he had one of those masks in his hand.
He basically discovered the plot.
Yeah, he did, and they were chasing him down for it.
Yeah.
And they go back to his hardware store, and they find a display of those silver shamrock masks.
Mm-hmm.
They're what is it? A skull and a witch and a pumpkin.
They are the most generic, ridiculous masks. The market could not have been that dry in '82. I was only 1 year old. I don't know.
But when we see what later on, when we actually do see what kids are doing with them, the costumes they're putting together, they're actually pretty cool. There's a kid who's got the pumpkin mask and he's got a clown outfit on. One girl's got a ballerina outfit. She's got the witch hat on. They're getting creative with it. They're mixing it up. So the thing is, they're all drawn in by this marketing campaign that is really elaborate
and really annoying.
It's this
3 more days to Halloween.
It's London Bridge is falling down, and it's a song
2 more
it's a
days
melody
to
that
Halloween, Halloween.
Happy Halloween,
2 more days to Halloween.
And they change it up every day.
Yeah, 1 more day to Halloween.
Yeah. They change it up every day, and the commercial is running and running all the time. And it runs all through this movie, and it's sort of a commentary.
The man had enough money to steal a rock from Stonehenge, so his marketing budget must be through the roof.
Yeah, because they change it every day. It's like,
and it's being broadcast what appears to be nationwide.
Yeah.
Which again, in 1982, did you see a lot of commercials like that were nationwide?
Not for stuff like this.
Yeah.
But we're led to believe that he is ridiculously wealthy because he's been doing this since 1982, or he's been doing this since right after World War II. So it's kind of that commentary on children's advertising, and one of those things that they were kind of fighting against. Because children are very easy to manipulate with advertising, which is why you have to put regulations on it, and why you have to limit it, and why you wouldn't see a commercial like this running this often, because it really does it's on the radio. It's on the television all the time, but it's even on the radio.
Well, here's the thing. Nowadays, all you would have to do is go to an ad-supported streaming service, and it would play it 6 times back to back before you got back to your program, and then you would watch 3 minutes of your program, and then it would be another 6 of them back to back to back to back, the same ones over and over.
But if you imagine your average town has 3 networks, and it's probably running on the network, but it's also running on the local stations, and it's running all the time. And it's a song that you know from childhood. Everybody knows London Bridge is Falling Down, so you know this medley. You know what's going on, and you hear it, and it's an earworm.
Mm-hmm.
It sticks in your brain, and it's on every single day.
And then it turns into an actual brain worm.
And then it actually turns into a brainworm. Watch the Magic Pumpkin. But
Man,
they
it
go
takes
out of town.
so long to get to the story.
Because they drive out of town
Oh
to this
my
little town called.
God.
It's weird. It's this little sort of Stepford town called Santa Mira. It's a company town essentially, and it's one of those places that everything is owned by the company.
And everybody is so in love with this guy. I wouldn't be surprised that if the workers, that if the people there have not been there generationally and are all of the same kind of witchy kind of descent,
Well, they're all Irish.
or whatever control he has over them.
Well, they're all Irish. And
Now, I don't know what you mean by that, but I wouldn't really blight the Irish just because.
He goes, well, because when you go to the factory, there are, what we find out later are his robots, and also there are actual people working there.
Mm-hmm.
But the weird thing is, and that wino wasn't allowed to get a job there. And I have a strange feeling it might be, he's not Irish, you know what I mean? So he was kind of turned away. Listen, we really appreciate your interest in our company, Mr. Hebrewberg, but we're not going to be able to offer you a job at this time, wherever. But, we thank you anyway.
We'll be sure and keep your application on file in case we do have an opening that we feel that you would be suitable for.
Yeah, I have a feeling, yeah. There may have been a reason he didn't get a job there.
You think it may be a little restricted?
Yeah, it may be a little bit restricted. Their hiring policy may be a little narrow. But they go into this town. They stop in this little motel run by Henry Fonda from On Golden Pond.
Basically, yeah. Okay.
Who is basically the biggest Irish stereotype I've ever seen in my life. Oh, we'll get your room right away.
Outside of Barry Fitzgerald, maybe.
Yeah. And he gets a. I love that because you have to see this from his perspective. A man and a woman just showed up to get a room at his hotel. He is in his 40s. She is clearly not. And they introduce themselves as husband and wife. And this guy's attitude when he says that is, okay.
Yeah.
You do you. Because it kind of looks like
it's a motel on the outside of a small town. You know that they have hourly rates as well as nightly ones. There's just you pay your money and there's no questions asked. That's
because this old drunk just is checking into a motel with this beautiful young girl. Yeah, really. I mean, you do the math, okay?
He's
me,
paying for the room. I'm sure he's paying for a few other things.
What gets me is how quickly they get to it.
Oh my God, I know.
And they go into the room.
This was so awful.
They haven't even gotten their bag unpacked.
And he's like, oh, well, where do you want to sleep? Well, there's only one bed. Maybe we should get a second room. Well, that wouldn't look right because we're supposed to be married. Well, I guess
What am I gonna do?
I guess I'll sleep on the floor. And she's like, is that where you really want to sleep? Well, you know where I really want to sleep. And then he starts to kiss her, and then it just starts to go.
She says, what do you really want to do? And he stops and he looks at her and he says, that's a dumb question, Mr. Umbridge.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, God, this is just...
And he kisses her and they go right into it. Well, what's funny is, as this is happening, the meat wagon pulls up because our disposable characters come in. This family, who looks like they've come off the set of Better Off Dead, show up in this movie, and I mean they're a comedy family.
They are so suburban Midwest.
They're wacky neighbors on a sitcom.
Yeah. I mean, you expect them to be living next to like the Life of Riley, or next to Lucy and Desi.
They're on Full House.
Yeah.
They're the neighbors next door or something, And they pull up in one of those Winnebagos with a giant W on the side of it. The father is annoying, the mother is irritating, and the kid is a little shit.
Yeah, basically.
They are followed by a woman who gets out of her car, an older middle-aged woman who gets out of her car and starts complaining that, and I never really figured out why she was there. She says that damn factory screwed up my order, and I'm thinking, so you drove down here? I wasn't clear on exactly why. The reason she's there is because she got some faulty merchandising because the Silver Shamrock medallion keeps coming off of the masks. Mm-hmm. But I'm not sure why she went up there.
I think she said something to the effect that she tried to get in contact with them and they didn't respond or something.
Oh, that's right, because every time they try to make a phone call in this movie while they're in the town, the lines are down, right? Or the lines are busy, or So
she had to come in, and her company only put her up in this cheap ass motel.
Yeah,
and where she has stayed before, you could tell.
The Rose of Shannon Motel, by the way. And I love this because this leads into the grossest sex scene, because I can't quite figure this. Now this is the one I can't quite figure out. He comes back to the room after signing in.
And after almost getting hit by the Winnebago.
Yeah, after nearly getting hit by I think he did get hit by the bicycle. But maybe.
Whatever it was, it wasn't fatal, and that was the real mistake of the movie.
He goes into the room, and she is dressed in what looks like a very expensive black nightie.
Yeah.
And they begin to have sex, and I'm thinking, okay, wait a minute. You packed that nightie for a trip in which you are in this town to solve your father's murder.
Uh-huh.
You brought that with you.
Hey, you gotta give her points
really
for
should
planning.
Be a red flag for him.
Man,
this should be a red flag for him.
Give her points for planning, though. I mean,
but nipple sucking. Okay.
Did you really have to take us there, Jer?
You know what? I came into this movie to watch a movie about an evil toy maker who makes evil masks that are going to kill children. Why is this here? What is the point of this? What's really funny, because this is unbelievable. They keep cutting back to this other woman in her room, and she's sitting up in bed reading. She notices that one of the medallions has fallen on the floor. One of the silver shamrock medallions has fallen on the floor. She reaches down to pick it up. They keep cutting back and forth to the sex scene, by the
Yeah,
way.
because these two are equatable scenes. This is real Eisensteinian montage editing here.
She picks up the medallion, and she notices that it has a microchip in the back of it. And I'm not sure what she was trying to do, but she pulls a bobby pin out. She starts kind of digging at it.
And then it goes off and shoots off half her face.
A Star Wars laser comes out of the medallion and goes into her mouth. They cut back to the sex scene where he is absolutely getting a mouthful of strange. And she says, "What was that?" He gets his head out from between her boobs and says, "Who cares?" And goes right back.
And then it cuts back to her, and you see her
Oh
her
my
mouth
God.
is like blown open, and then like
Oh,
a roach crawls out of her
the
mouth, and you
ugliest
see her
bug you've ever seen.
and you see her twitching, so you know she's
Oh.
dead.
Oh my God! It just blows her face open. That was that was horrifying.
That was horrifying,
Oh my God!
but not as horrifying as what preceded it, which was the mouthful.
You are asked to figure out what is more disgusting.
Oh.
This May-December sex scene with nipples, complete with nipple sucking, or this woman who gets a Star Wars bolt in the face.
Oh, jeez.
Boy, your priorities are really, really, really tested in this movie, because what was that? Who cares? And then we meet the villain.
Finally.
This is actually where the movie starts to get good.
This is where the
Because when
movie starts.
This is really where the movie starts, because when we meet the villain, he's played by Dan O'Herlihy, who is acting this part to pieces.
The hilt.
I mean, he is absolutely... And he's dressed in the same suit he was wearing in RoboCop.
Hey, it still looked good 5 years later, you know.
And he says, "Mrs. Gutman will get the finest medical treatment at my factory."
Right, yeah. Oh, we've taken her to the factory because we have a wing there, a medical wing there. It's like,
Apparently this town doesn't have a hospital. It's just the factory. Because it's this weird sort of Invasion of the Body Snatchers town that's just sort of, everything is controlled by this factory.
and more so, everything is controlled by this one guy.
Right.
Like,
He owns and runs the entire town.
right, and they're all like,
Stepford.
yeah, they are just in blind awe and reverence of this guy. Like, he has saved each and every one of their lives multiple times. You know,
Because that guy at the motel, the guy running the motel, tells Ellie, he's like, "Great man, that Colonel Cochran. You know, he's a great genius." You know.
and
You go to the factory, and they meet Gozer. Because when they're standing there, they're trying to figure out, did her father got an order, and she's trying to figure out the lady behind the desk. Is played by Patty Edwards, who was the voice of Gozer.
Yeah.
And you can hear it too. It's one of those people that when she talks, you can hear the cigarettes. But they get there, and it's this long road at which you're trying to figure out what's going on, because I think she spots her father's car at one point,
Yeah.
and she turns up missing, and he goes snooping around.
And
Turns
he
out,
rubberizes her, or whatever he does.
I have no idea. I have still never been able to. The director of this movie cannot tell you what that was about. I have never been able to figure this part out. But yeah, they get to the factory, and they're gonna use this better off dead family as guinea pigs to expose or to. It kind of turns into a James Bond plot.
Right. So, like, this thing activates the Stonehenge dust in the back of the medallions
Right.
and turns these kids' heads to just craters their heads. It's just that they just collapse, and
Right.
then all sorts of bugs and snakes
And a big Texas
and,
Rattler comes out.
yeah, and then it winds up the things that come out of the kid's head are what kills his parents.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so basically, you're looking at numerous families.
Mm-hmm. Millions.
Yes, potentially,
Mm-hmm.
uh, being completely eliminated.
Except for the good, sweet Christian children and the underprivileged and the Amish. Anybody who's not allowed to celebrate Halloween or can ill afford it.
Or is out trick or treating and not watching the goddamn television.
The television tells them, be sure to be home at 9 o'clock. Be sure to be home at 9
Yeah,
o'clock.
for the
Be sure to be
giveaway.
home at 9
For the
o'clock.
giveaway.
What I love is this commercial is so all over the place. After the sex scene, when they're cuddling,
Oh, jeez.
this is the first thing he hears. And he says what we're all thinking. Oh my God, I can't believe this commercial.
Mm-hmm.
The unsexiest thing you could ever hear while cuddling is It's just
2 more days to Halloween.
2 more days to Halloween.
Halloween.
Oh God, I can't believe this commercial.
So, I'm gonna divert from the plot now that there actually is one, and bring up. I want to know now. John Carpenter did the music for this, right?
John Carpenter does the music for all of his movies.
So, John Carpenter managed to create audibly just migraine headaches.
Mm-hmm.
Because I heard the movie opens to this screech
Mm-hmm.
of music
Yeah.
that just, I mean, I've watched this movie twice. I was going to rewatch it before we recorded this today, and I was like, you know what? I already have a headache. I already have a migraine. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to induce a further one by watching this terrible music. I couldn't believe, especially considering how great his score was for his minimalist score for Halloween.
Yeah.
Then you get this, and it is just, it's techno migraine inducing pitches that are just
the worst for me. The worst for me is They Live. Because it is scene after scene after scene after scene of Roddy Piper running around, and you hear the music, ba-dum, bump, ba-dum, bump, ba-dum, bump, just over and over and over. Oh my god.
Yeah. Um,
That's the worst.
I
You
don't,
know what's
I don't,
funny?
I don't know why.
Here's the funny thing. His best movie is so underappreciated. Remember Starman?
Yes.
That was him making a real
It
movie
was a
after
really good
Halloween.
movie.
It's a really good movie, and that's the one nobody and everybody goes, "Oh, I love the thing." I love the thing, and I'm like, "Ew."
Yeah. I've watched The Thing at least 3 times. I
Yeah,
just, I don't get it. I
yeah,
don't get the love for it. I'm
hmm
not there for it. I think I like it a little bit more now, but I still don't really like it.
it's the blood and guts that I can't.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the
And
gore I can't deal with.
I kind of think that the Howard Hawks original was much better.
It is. It is better.
So,
The mystery of this film is undercut by all of this
yeah,
gross.
yeah,
I'm not sensitive. I'm not oversensitive about this stuff, but it's just gross.
yeah, yeah. It's
Um,
overdone.
it's overdone. Now there's a little bit of that in this movie, but at least it's somewhat spaced out. At least there's something. It's not like yeah. There's that one scene with the woman's face,
Hmm.
but it's not the whole movie.
Right, right. And you know, I don't even really mind all of that. It's just when it's just gross to be gross. I just
Hmm
can't. And so much of what he has done over the years
hmm
has just been let's do this because I can do this.
He makes movies as fast food. He doesn't
Yeah,
make,
yeah, yeah.
you know, and that's there's nothing wrong with that.
No, and
There's nothing wrong with pure
he
entertainment.
doesn't aspire to be, the artists that he admires.
Right.
He is fully steeped in film history.
hmm
He
He knows
comes
exactly what he's
he
doing.
comes from that generation
Right.
of people who were film students first.
hmm
But he's not here to make Citizen Kane. He knows he's not here to make Citizen Kane. He doesn't want to make Citizen Kane. And
Right.
more power to him because the people who are trying to make Citizen Kane are failing
Are failing.
miserably, and
Yeah.
it's just painful to watch. At least he makes fun movies.
Yeah. And a lot of times, sometimes he makes bad movies that can be fun.
Mm-hmm.
And but his films are out for pure entertainment. And
Big Trouble in Little China.
yeah, yeah, something like that. Um, this movie,
Escape from New
however,
York. Oh.
Escape from New York. Escape from New York is strange. I don't admire it as much now as I did then because first of all, 1997. Second of all, it's way too short. It
Mm-hmm.
never really grabs onto its premise like it should. It's very short and very 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 small.
An Escape from L.A. is just awful.
I don't even remember. I barely remember that one.
I remember that it was made, and yeah.
That's one of those movies that comes out in August. Um, but this movie, I have a certain appreciation for it just because of how shoddy it is. I actually enjoy. Actually, this is one of those that I enjoy talking about more than I do actually watching. Um, what's great is because like I said, Dan O'Hurley is acting this thing to pieces, and he has his James Bond scene where he's explaining
Yes.
to Tom Atkins
Yes. Yes.
what
Yes.
this is all about. And if you're actually really paying attention, it makes a little bit of sense culturally because it goes into the origins of Halloween
Mm-hmm.
about how the peasants in Ireland, the you know, believed that um, the festival of Samhain Samhain was November 1st. And so the night before, they believed that the barriers between the natural and supernatural would be down, and that's when you would be visited by ghosts and evil spirits. And that's why people dressed up in costumes. That's why people put jack-o'-lanterns out. That's why people did this. And it's why they did human sacrifice, to ward off the evil spirits. And his reasoning is almost like Thanos. Population control. Time to start over. And it's like, okay, as long as you got your reasons. What?
I'm not sure if that's a shrug your shoulder and say go about your business kind of a situation, but okay.
But I'll say this. It's at least original.
Yes.
I can say I haven't seen this before.
Yes.
You
Absolutely.
know? And I love the fact that when this starts, when he leaves him alone in the room. No, I'm just going to leave you alone in the room in an easily escapable trap, and then just come back, just assume it all went to plan.
And the ridiculous way that he gets out.
He gets out by kicking the TV. Have you ever broken a TV set by kicking it?
What was the glass? Was it made out of sugar? Like, geez,
Yes.
like what? He puts almost no force into it. I'm like, no, that's
With
not.
his feet.
You can't break that like that.
And then he takes this mask off and he flicks it at this camera, which it should have happened on the 47th try.
Yeah, man. First try. You feel like you're missing. Do you remember that scene in, what was it, the Lego Movie, when Batman tries to throw his batarang to open up the gate, and it misses, and he's like, and he just keeps whipping him at it, and then it hits it, and it goes green, and he goes, first try. That's what somebody would have seen him trying to hit that. Like, there's no way that his drunk ass was hitting that kind of a shot that perfectly from that far away.
Yeah.
After being tied up. No.
And it is 7:49. You've got an hour and 10 minutes to figure out how to stop America's children from being murdered in an hour and 10 minutes.
So how was this place an hour away and then suddenly he's at the gas station?
I have no idea. And he ran.
Yeah.
Because he gets out and he meets up with
same
Ellie.
Same with her father.
Yeah, he meets up with Ellie, and they run around the factory, and they find the control center, which is this ring of TV sets, and he takes a box of these medallions, and he I don't know how he did this, but somehow he pushes some buttons on the computer, and the commercial comes up, and he goes upstairs on the catwalks. He takes the box of medallions and he throws them. And they all get lasered with this.
Yeah.
The bots all get What I don't understand is he's got bots that are assassins.
Yeah.
But he's also got bots that are scientists in lab coats. Yeah. Because he kills all the robots. And he kills all the robots. And then Colin Cochran looks up at him. And he just...
Yeah, he gives him a little clap, and then Stonehenge melts him.
Help me with this! Oh my god!
some kind of way, the TV sets that were in that circle formed some kind of something or other, and there was an energy beam from the Stonehenge rock, and then it went around in a circle.
He's in the middle of it.
He's in the middle of it, and he gets fried, frozen, whatever, happens to him.
I don't know what that was, because whatever it was, the model that they show you when he vaporizes didn't look a thing like him.
No.
It looked more like Mr. Better Off Dead.
Yeah.
And he vaporizes. And they're running away, and all of a sudden, as they're driving out of this town, he realizes that she's a robot.
She starts to try to kill him.
She tries to kill him. She reaches out. She tries to strangle him. And this scene goes on forever.
And on.
He's got to be thinking, well, that arm can't be all healed. He tears her head off, and I don't know.
I don't want to know if he kept it for horrifying reasons.
I don't want to know. I really don't want to know.
I mean, I don't even know if I would call them robots. I don't think that they. I think that he somehow did something.
No,
to
there was
people
that one that he punches in the stomach. He pulls wires out.
Okay.
Because he pulls wires. Because there's one he knocks his head off.
Yeah.
And it's a robot. I guess some of them are robots. I don't know if some of them are cyborgs. I have no idea if she's a cyborg or a robot copy.
See,
I have
that's
no
what I'm
idea.
thinking. Like, he was somehow able to, like, the scientists were real scientists that he just replaced so that they would do what he wanted them to.
Right.
And these security guards are just either fabricated or converted people. Who knows? Maybe that whole town is converted people.
I was actually thinking that. I was, when they come into the town, they see all of those people kind of looking out the windows.
Mm-hmm.
They're watching the stranger come in. I was like, are they all robots?
Maybe they are.
Or is it mind control? I'm thinking it may be mind control because they've got that message that goes off at sundown. From the loudspeakers.
The curfew.
Which is Jamie Lee Curtis, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this very soft, soothing. It's 9:00. It's lights out. It's curfew. Please contain your activities to your own home. Have a pleasant evening. It's that very kind of calming kind of. Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's like he's got a curfew for these people. I'm thinking they're under some kind of mind control or something.
I really don't know.
I have no idea, but he gets to this gas station where he meets up with the guy again, who, I don't know who he's talking to, but whoever it is he's talking to is in control of these three channels, and he's yelling into the phone. Look, he's yelling into the phone more or less like he did with his wife. There's a phone call he has to his wife who's trying to get her to throw the masks away, and he makes the point of saying, "No, I'm not drunk."
Yeah, yeah.
Listen, I'm not drunk.
Look. You know that the most unreliable sentence in the world.
I'm not drinking.
I'm not drunk. Because you could be telling the truth, or you could be covering up for being drunk.
Or you could be drunk. Well, and he
and not realize how drunk you are.
I don't know who he's talking to that was in control of three separate channels. But these kids come in and they turn the channel because the first channel goes out for technical difficulties. Then the kid changes the channel and the second TV channel goes out and it's for technical difficulties. And then changes the channel again and that one's still running the commercial. And the kid is standing there, and he's screaming into the phone, and I'm like, okay, take the mask off the kid. Get the mask
And there were
off.
3 kids there.
Yeah.
It's like,
there are 3.
And then, so it ends.
By the way, before we get there, I got to say this. He meets up with the same gas station attendant.
He's
First
like,
of all,
don't I know you?
The kids are trick-or-treating at a gas station. But there's a scene
Hey, I
where
don't know. Small town, maybe? I don't.
he's standing at the door and he's giving them candy, which they're taking out of a hubcap.
Yeah. I mean,
And then he starts screaming into the phone, and he's screaming and screaming because the third channel won't go off. And I'm thinking, just what you busted that TV earlier. Why don't you bust this TV or pull the masks off
well,
or
here's
something?
the thing. I don't he wasn't freaking out because those kids were there. He's freaking
Hmm.
out because he knows that
His
everybody
kids
has
are watching.
anybody's kids are watching. They've
Right.
turned those channels and it's there,
Hmm.
it's still there on that third one. And
Hmm.
so the plan is still going to go off. That's why he's freaking out. It's like,
Yeah.
because,
But there's three children there that you can save right now.
yeah. Which would also probably save his life because whatever's going to come out of their heads.
It's gonna bite him
Yeah.
and the gas station
Yeah,
attendant.
because he's not by the door. He is not by the door.
No, he's not by the door. And it has an ending. I do like the way it ends. I like the fact that it kind of doesn't tell you and it doesn't give you a morning after.
Right, it
You
just
know,
cuts.
it just cuts. So you can either optimistically believe that they cut the channel or pessimistically believe that they didn't.
I just assumed
And
that they didn't because
okay, this is the Pacific time zone. The kids have to be home by 9. The kids have to be in front of the TV set by 9 o'clock.
and this is supposed to be a national campaign.
Okay, in New York on the East Coast, it's
Yeah.
midnight. So this commercial's running at midnight.
Or it's running at 9 o'clock in each time zone, which would clue each
Yeah,
time
the
zone that
next yeah,
something terrible was happening.
something terrible's happening. Yes.
It's just like saying, "Oh no, Y2K is going to obliterate everything at midnight on New
Hmm.
Year's Eve." It's like, well, which midnight?
Yeah. Who's
It's
midnight?
like, we'll find out because if it happens in Japan, we'll be able to
Mhm.
protect because we'll have known a day in advance.
Right.
International Dateline, guys.
Right.
Um, it
We have
doesn't.
an Atlantic time
It's
zone.
not going to hold up under scrutiny, to be sure.
Right.
But it was at least an original attempt. It's
This is
not a good
junk.
movie.
It's junk. It's junk. I personally think it's kind of enjoyable junk because it's so badly made, and it's just to me it's fun junk food.
I mean, I I would
I bought the
agree. I
Blu-ray
would
to
I
the
would agree if I could watch it past the music. I mean, I can't.
I bought the Blu-ray. I bought the Blu-ray to this for $1.25, and that's about what it's worth.
Yeah.
Let me guess. I have a feeling you watched this for the first time with headphones on.
No.
No, really? Wow. Because if you got headphones on, that first note will get you.
Oh, yeah. No.
Ugh. But that's Halloween 3.
That sure is.
That was Halloween 3.
Uh,
Uh,
coming up, this may end up being the one right before Turkey Month, in which case I don't know what's coming up quite at the top of Turkey Month.
we got some things.
I haven't really made any kind of decisions on that yet, so I've got to get going on
Yeah,
that.
we don't know what Turkey Month looks like. We were still trying to iron out Halloween
Yeah.
because we had to do two shows all over again because we had technical
Yeah.
difficulties.
Well,
It happens.
it does. It does.
Yeah,
And
it happens.
so yeah, either next week will either be Faces trilogy, which is nowhere near the buoyancy that this is.
No nipple sucking.
None that I recall.
No drunk nipple sucking.
Or it'll kick off Turkey Month, which we don't really have. I think you might have something for it, but there's no definites I think yet. So
well, the way I pick our Turkey Month films is, first of all, I want something that's fun. At least, if not fun to watch, at least fun to talk about. Which this was. This was fun to talk about. I want something that's light and fun to talk about. But I go back and I watch a film that I think we will like for Turkey Month and see if the Earth moves. And if the Earth doesn't move, I don't pick it. It kind of has to inspire me. I've seen several films and I'm like, okay, that might be good for Turkey Month. And I watch it and I'm like, yeah. There's a Christian film that I really wanted to talk about. It was called Voiceless, and it's about a guy who goes on this insane mission to stop an abortion clinic. And I remember just thinking it was the most inept, amazing thing I've ever seen in my life, and it was. But it just didn't spark me for Turkey Month. It just didn't. It didn't grab me.
Yeah, I have to settle on some, but that's.
I've got a couple of choices in mind. I got some things swimming around in my head.
But we'll let you know when we find out ourselves.
But your Faces trilogy.
Yes, that is Eyes Without a Face from 1960, directed by Georges Franju.
Not the Billy Idol song.
No. Hiroshi Teshigahara's the Eyes Without a The Face of Another.
Face of Another, yes.
From 1966, and also from 1966, John Frankenheimer's Seconds, starring Rock.
So we go from France to Japan, and then we swing around back home.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
That's what I got. You can find all of our back episodes at the podbaydorspodcast.wordpress.com. You can hear us on iTunes and YouTube. Hit the like, subscribe, and notifications buttons there. You can find us on Twitter at pod_bay. Follow us there. Copy and paste that handle over onto Patreon, and you will find where we are there. We thank you so very much for joining us, and the pod bay doors are now closed.
The mission has been completed.
When I look out my window, my shoulder. What do you think I see? Some other cat looking over his shoulder right at me. And it's strange, sure is strange. You got to pick up every stitch, beating dicks out to make it rich. Oh no, must be the season of the witch. Must be the season of the witch. When I look out my window, so many sights to see. When I look into my window, so many different people to be. You got to pick up every stitch. Rabbits running in the ditch.